Hi, welcome to Point Blank, where we delve into issues that matter to you. I'm Shiting.
I'm Lynn. Tonight we're going to be talking about service standards in Singapore.
But before we go into that, let's introduce the three guests with us tonight. They are Lau Chen Wei, the Executive Director of Singapore Retailers Association, Adam Tan, a Communications and Marketing Manager, who has some customer service anecdotes to share with us, and Gopa, who participated in a service boot camp sort of thing. And we are going to have a really lively, discussion about service standards in Singapore. And in recent months, there have been an influx of foreigners into the service workforce, and actually many of them do not speak English, and this sometimes creates problems for the customer. So Razor SpyCam checks out some shops and restaurants to find out how this service staff fare in their English language score sheet. Let's take a look. Razor SpyCam shall go mystery shopping today to find out how difficult it is to communicate with non-English speaking service staff. Hi, I'm trying to get a gift for my grandmother.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can recommend?
How can you tell that it's good?
I don't know how to tell like good jade from
Rainbow color.
rainbow colors.
Yeah, this is rainbow, the natural jade.
I have no idea that jade has rainbow colors. Very interesting indeed. Or actually, did she mean something else? What is that? The crack?
No, looks like the sky blue.
Sky blue.
Yeah.
Is it the cloud?
语音是怎么讲啊？
Yeah.
白语。
Yeah.
Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one is is a good one. We'll give you the receipt. Yeah,
Receipt.
receipt if you want to buy. Yeah, receipt.
Oh,
So
okay.
if
So I
problem,
can.
Yeah, you can.
come back and
come
can I
back,
do a refund?
Yeah.
Oh, I can get back my money if I.
Yeah.
Not refund. You can change other.
Oh,
things.
exchange for something else.
You can change buy other things.
But
Okay.
if you have people talk to you some problem.
Oh dear,
yeah, you can-
not making that clear could possibly
But
cause a
must,
big
Know
misunderstanding.
the people lah. Understand.
Let's take a break here and quench our thirst. Ice water?
冰的水没有，是温水的。
I don't understand. But getting that cup of water proved to be not that easy.
Why is it snow ice?
It's snow ice.
What is snow ice?
Snow ice means that when you
So what exactly is snow
ice, right, you
ice?
just blend it. But we just add in the green tea flavor. So ice mocha, we have green tea, we have peanut, we also have a mango, we also have a sesame flavor.
And what is that goes into my Cantonese dumpling?
Green bean. Egg yellow. Egg yellow.
Egg yellow. Or egg yolk.
Have you ever encountered any service staff who don't speak in English?
Yes, yeah.
Can you
Actually,
describe the encounter?
it was unpleasant because she had to repeat quite a few times whatever she was saying, and after the fourth time, I just gave up.
Let's say, okay, I'm a Malay, and you're Chinese, and you speak Mandarin. Obviously, most of us don't know how to, communicate with them.
So anybody who wants to work in Singapore should be able to speak in English. Otherwise, I think the service levels will be badly affected.
It depends on what they're doing. If they're behind the counter and they don't really need to speak a lot, I think it's fine. But if they're service staff like customer service or sales staff, they should at least be able to hold a conversation on what their product is.
I think it's alright to have them work here. I think we still need their service. But I feel that they should try to learn how to speak English. Otherwise, it's going to be a real problem. Yeah.
Basically, Singaporean actually speaks, most of them, if it's Chinese, they speak Mandarin or English. Yeah. So it's fine.
But what if I cannot speak in Mandarin at all? What should I do?
Maybe you ask to another service staff to serve you. They speak in English.
Yeah, usually I would break out into Mandarin or, any other language that I can deal with.
Do they make up for better service, like being more attentive and all?
No, in fact, they can be quite rude. I don't know what circumstance they're in, but they shouldn't take it out on the customer.
If they don't speak English, they shouldn't even be in the service industry, basically, yeah.
So did you have fun shooting?
Well, I really did. Well, but to be fair to them, those people who don't speak English, they are really very pleasant and they are very attentive. They get somebody else quickly to serve us instead if they cannot understand what we are speaking. So what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Is it important? It is mandatory to know English to be a service staff here?
In Singapore, yeah.
I think because it's Singapore and it's such a hodgepodge of cultures, you know, especially with tourists coming from overseas, with so many millions of tourists, I think it's pretty much a given that you speak English, which is the more or less universal language. I mean, I know Mandarin is catching up, but you should have both. If you're going to have Mandarin, you should at least have English as well.
Okay, but these are Chinese nationals who just came from China.
So
They can't speak English.
I think there should be some kind of training given to them. You know,
but it takes a while. I mean, they come in, they need a job. The shops need staff. You know, you can't just throw them out there and expect them to know how to speak English. So it takes a while, don't you think?
I think that was a very interesting point, Adam, that you brought up. That Singapore, we are multicultural, so you should at least speak basic English. This is this whole issue about English language is something that we have been battling with for a long time. Incidentally, I also sit on the Speak Good English movement. And, you know, the interesting thing is, while you say that we are a cosmopolitan city and we should speak English, the interesting thing is that nowadays when we walk around on the buses, on the MRTs, even in offices, how often do you hear people speaking in Mandarin more so than in English? How often do you hear people... They are obviously yuppies, okay? You know, young people in the working environment, in the business world. But you're on the road, you walk around and you hear them speak to each other. It's Mandarin more often than English. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why, okay? Because you do everything else in English. It is language of administration and business. And it has even filtered down to the schools. You listen to school kids on buses and MRTs, they're speaking English, Mandarin. I don't know whether you agree with me, but I hear that. You know, in my days when we were in school, if you're in an English school, you speak English. Chinese was like taboo, you know, cannot touch. And vice versa for those in the Chinese schools. But now, I even hear students in those traditionally English schools for whom Chinese was, you know, touch me not kind of language, they speak in Mandarin outside.
I think it depends on the circles that you move in as well, because I think it's kind of the reverse for me, actually. In fact, if you ask me, it's neither Mandarin nor English that you hear most often. It's a really poor
Singlish
version of Singlish. I wouldn't even say it's proper Singlish, if there's such a term, because it just sounds so... how do I put it? It sounds like it's spoken by illiterate people. I mean, it's really poor language of choice. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's English is English, kind of thing. I mean, it's still the primary language.
Agreed. But you know, incidentally, we're talking about training people and so on. The Singapore Retailers Association, we have just started introducing a program called Service English for retail professionals, to help all these people. But you know what we hear from some of the trainers? It's interesting that some of these people come to Singapore, the people from China, they come to Singapore, they know English. Okay? They know English. The formal English. They may not be as good expressing themselves vocally, speaking it and so on, but they can understand, they are literate. The problem is, after they come here and they hear a customer says, this one got my size or not? Hello? What are you speaking? Is that English? That is not an English that I understand, and so I get scared. One, I'm in a foreign environment, I'm in a foreign country, I don't have my family behind me and so on. I'm put, you know, and suddenly I'm here supposedly listening to a language that I supposedly understand, but I don't. So I get scared and I dare not venture out anymore. That contributes to what you're saying, whether the service is forthcoming or not. So sometimes that happens. The other thing is what I've heard from some of the trainers, and these are real stories. Some of them come and they speak, and then they get, after they've been here for about 6 months, they get influenced by their Singapore colleagues. And then what happens? Somebody told me this. There were two workers in the same department. One from PRC who told the Singapore staff, the customer says he doesn't want this anymore. Perfect English. The Singaporean, he don't want already, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not brushing everything with a broad brush and saying that this is, the case all over but sometimes this does happen.
Okay, but the thing also is, for me, I want to know, is language really that important, or is it the natural hospitality and warmth
that's
more
a very salient
important?
point that you have raised. Because I think language per se does not really get into the customer service aspect of it. In other words, if you want to be a good service provider, you must be passionate about it. You see, I've seen our local aunties and uncles, when they are cleaning the table. Just let me go to some of these neighborhood coffee shops. And, when they clean their table and you sit there, and then just after they clean, you just say thank you to them. Thank you, either in Malay or even in Hokkien, Kamsia, you say. You could see the twinkle in their eye. You could see that the faces get lighted up. So if you would ask me, I would say that, are you passionate about what you are doing? So language, yes, you must be able to speak English. You must, because as what he has pointed out, it's a universal language. You must speak in English. The setting should be English. But beyond that, that service from the heart, that must be there.
I think it's a very good point actually, because language is just like one of the many pillars. I think passion is by far and away the strongest pillar that you should have if you're going to be in the service industry. And some of the best service I get is from the kopitiam uncles and aunties. I mean, I have a baby daughter, right? I bring her to the hawker center, and I've already given the table once over with baby wipe, and then the cleaning auntie comes over with her rag, and she smiles at my daughter, she wipes the table, and she's saying, in Mandarin, let me wipe this for you. I think that's actually, you came from the other side of the hawker center to come and clean it for me because you saw my daughter. I think that's great. It's huge initiative on their part, and that is passion.
Exactly, and passion
because
comes
we
from
always
the heart.
we always try to get the setting at a kind of a high-end kind of setting. We talk about high-end restaurants, we talk about high-end things, but then we are not looking at the neighborhoods. Actually, if you just go down to the neighborhoods, the local people, I tell you, you really look at them, they can really provide excellent service. It's unfortunate that because they are not that well educated, but as I said, service must come from the heart. You must have that passion to serve. And talking about service, not everybody are good service providers, but because by nature, you may not have that kind of, just like what Mr. Ong, director of WDA pointed out. Now, if you work in a kind of environment where you wear a kind of spacesuit, only you and that, you don't interact with people. So people of this nature, you find that they can be very highly educated, but if you're going to put them in this kind of customer service setting, I'm afraid they can't do. You've got to be an introvert, an extrovert. You're a people-loving kind of a person. By nature, you like this.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's not that they don't want to be polite and nice, they don't know how to be.
Precisely.
Yes,
that's right.
So, in fact, like language, you can learn that, but attitude and passion, it comes from your heart. You have it or you don't have it.
Yeah, precisely. It's attitude. So if you have a positive attitude, you look at everything and say, hey, I enjoy this work. Hey, I enjoy this serving this customer. If you feel that way, then I think everything else comes easy. You really need not be so proficient in English.
It's quite true.
Yeah, you don't have to be. But it's when you can serve with that kind of passion, people can feel it, People can really feel it.
I think that politeness actually, you're right. Once you have that passion, everything else is you can have, half a good grasp of English. You could have, just passable product knowledge and all that. But the passion itself, I think, helps to make the experience overall a positive experience for the customer. As long as they're willing to serve. That's actually what I think we should be getting as, you know, as when they see the customer service representative, and if they are willing to serve, you don't quite know what I need, you know, you have to go and find out, but you're very polite about it. Why? Because you're passionate about your service. In fact, overall, I feel that rapport straight away.
Right. And the other thing is, you know, it should be a two-way thing. I'm talking about graciousness. Now, somebody serves me. I mean, it's only fair and polite to say, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes I see that this thing doesn't happen. So that poor service provider, as much as he tries, and he wants to be acknowledged, or he or she, and here you don't give them that little thank you, and then, you know. So I think it goes a long way.
I agree.
You know,
Actually
it
takes
goes
two
a
to
long.
clap.
It takes two to clap.
I think
yes.
you say sometimes, you mean many times you don't see it happen, right?
Okay, actually we have some comments coming in on our web. Red Devil 72 says, our spoken English for Singaporeans is already so bad, with non-English speaking service staff, like the gentleman said, gives a bad impression to foreigners. And Ranger 777 says, sometimes it can't be helped. How about those foreigners that are working in Singapore, like people from China, Vietnam, or Malaysia? How do the other foreigners know they are from Singapore? So, yeah. And come to think of it, we should be more tolerant of non-English speaking staff, like what we have been talking about. Imagine we Singaporeans working in Greece and we can't serve in Greek. So I'm sure we don't want to lose our jobs just because we can't speak in that language. So Red Devil 72 continues to say, so should they be hired in the first place?
What do you think, Chen Wei?
I think one of the problems in Singapore in the service sector, you know, Gopal, you were talking about all the uncles and aunties who are there. I wonder how many of the younger people are, you know, as service oriented as the uncles and aunties. Fortunately or unfortunately, I think that we have come this far in our economic development in our country. I think in our bid to chase after that economic development, we have lost a little bit of our heart. I think, you know, it's the mighty dollar that counts. And the service sector is very short-staffed, you know, and that could be also another contributory factor to this perceived bad service, because they're also stressed out, standing on their feet for 10 hours a day, unappreciated by customers, you know, and having to handle this, that, and everything else. It's a difficult thing. And if nobody else wants to come on board to be the service staff, where are we going to find the people to man these stores? And then you get the Singaporeans complaining that there's so few staff. I walk in there and there's nobody. You know, but all the Singaporeans want to do is to be the managers. Everybody wants to be chief. Nobody wants to be Indians.
Yes.
You know. So what do we do? Where do we get the people to man those stations? Where can we turn to?
The foreigners.
Yeah.
I tell you that actually, okay, I think whether you're talking about foreigners or the service staff, I mean, there are the good staff and there are bad staff.
Certainly.
And I've seen good and bad in both foreigners as well as, you know, our locals alike. For instance, okay, China staff, right, from PRC. I frequent a foot reflexology place, right, and most of the staff there don't really speak English, right? I think they're from mainland China or they're from Malaysia and they speak Mandarin, but they're so friendly. Their service was so warm. I think because they're a smaller place, they're not a chain, that I basically stopped going to the chain that I had a package with and just frequented them, you know. And I go there and they smile. They're very happy. In fact, I'm so friendly with them that, you know, I introduced my parents, and when my parents went there, I brought along my daughter just to say hi, and they all came out to say hi, you know. But they're Chinese, and half the time I don't understand a word they're saying because they're speaking to me. They're telling me what I'm having problems with. I'm sorry, my secondary 4 Chinese goes up to that, you know. And at the same time, if you're talking about the locals, I mean, they're getting all the students. I mean, some people will say, since there's not enough people, you know, professionals, we get students, we get the foreigners. And recently I was at the Metro Sale at Expo, and I was buying a pair of trousers, right? Young girl who really went out of her way to find a pair of shorts. She dug through the bins. She suggested the size. She suggested cuts for me. She's younger. She's like 10 years my junior. She's suggesting cuts and maybe this might be good for you. Maybe you want to try this. And I said, I'll take this first. She said, what, instead of going twice to change, why don't you just take both? It's alright, So that was excellent service. 10 minutes later, I'm at the checkout counter. 5 of them are like chatting away while I'm hefting this massive bag of stuff. And they're chatting away, they can't be bothered. I could have fallen over and died, they don't care. I mean, really, playing on their handphones.
Yes.
Okay.
It's such a stark contrast, So I think there's a good and the bad, and it applies to both foreigners and students and whatnot.
Yeah, certainly in everything that is good and bad. I think the difficulty that the industry faces is finding them. Yeah, you got to first find the numbers, and then from there you got to find the good.
And training them. I think training is a huge thing.
And that's a big challenge. Which brings this question to my mind. We were talking about passion, right? What you are innately inclined towards. Do you think this kind of thing can be trained? Or is it inbuilt?
Different from training. So I don't think passion can be trained.
Yeah.
It's something
so that is my question.
Within,
how do you detect this? How do you get this? Training, we always say you train skills.
That's the nurture part.
Yeah, but the attitude and all that is something different. Can that be trained? How do we go about, cultivating that?
We'll discuss the importance of passion after the break.
Okay.
Thanks.